Hey everyone, I just wanted to quickly let you know that I had to switch recording spaces partway through this video, so there might be a change in audio quality partway through. I apologize for that. I'm operating without a dedicated recording space right now, so I kind of take what I can get. Hopefully it won't be too distracting. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the video. Three-Headed Serpent is the third mission of Hitman 2, set in the small fictional town of Santa Fortuna, Colombia. Providence has finally managed to identify who the Shadow Client is, an enigmatic mercenary by the name of Lucas Gray. That means we finally have a name for the main antagonist of the first game, and I can stop calling him the Shadow Client. Meanwhile, the ICA have managed to cross-reference global transportation and shipping patterns against the places Gray's militia have hit in order to determine how they're getting their people around the world without anyone noticing. Instead of using traditional transportation channels, they've partnered with the Delgado cartel and are hitching rides as they smuggle drugs around the world. The Delgado cartel are a recurring organization in the series. The first full level of Hitman, Blood Money, featured two members of the Delgado cartel as its targets at an estate in Chile. The famous scene of Agent 47 killing a man who is playing the cello, which features in this trilogy's opening, is Don Fernando Delgado from that mission. Meanwhile, you'll recall that Andrea Martinez, a high-ranking lieutenant in the Delgado cartel, featured way back in the Paris map of Hitman 1 at the Iago auction. And of course, Hector Delgado, who also features in this mission, was present in the Miami mission immediately before this one. If we were able to disrupt or destabilize the Delgado cartel, then it would cripple the militia's ability to travel around the world, preventing them from staging any further attacks. Luckily, an opportunity has been provided, as Rico Delgado, the current head of the entire cartel, and two of his highest-ranking lieutenants, Jorge Franco and the aforementioned Andrea Martinez, are all present in the town of Santa Fortuna, Colombia, at the same time. Taking out these three targets will be a major victory for Providence, and go a long way towards stopping Lucas Gray. The map is broken up into three major sections, with each of the three targets getting their own area to patrol. These are the town of Santa Fortuna itself, Delgado's mansion, and the coca fields being used to make drugs. I'm going to sound like a narc in this video. I'm sorry, it's just who I am. Rico Delgado is holed up in a luxurious mansion and rarely leaves the premises. He is described as the sociopathic leader of the Delgado cartel. His family emigrated from Chile to Colombia after the events of the mission in Blood Money, and Rico became the new leader of the cartel. Now, he's set his sights on becoming the #1 drug manufacturer in the world, having set up in the small town of Santa Fortuna, essentially placing the entire town under the military rule of his armed soldiers. Although the Delgado cartel are already one of the biggest players in the drug trade, Rico has plans to scale the entire operation up to something unprecedented, as we'll see within this mission. Ground is being broken on an industrial-grade manufacturing plant, and a new prototype submarine is being developed to stealthily smuggle drugs all over the world. This mission once again makes it clear that while Lucas Gray's militia standing against Providence is good, the people making up that militia and working with it are anything but. Rico Delgado is a crazed killer who will torture and murder his way through the whole world if it brings him power. Andrea Martinez is found in the town proper, much to her dismay. Martinez much prefers the luxurious lifestyle found in places like Paris, where we last encountered her, and rarely stays in the cartel's base of operations for long, which is part of why getting all three leaders of the cartel in the same place at the same time is so rare. Her role in the operation is as the PR manager for the entire cartel, greasing palms and charming various politicians around the world to keep the business running smoothly. Jorge Franco, meanwhile, is the brilliant chemist in charge of the actual drug production, and can be found in the coca fields on the eastern side of the map, obsessively trying to perfect a new type of super cocaine, which the cartel can corner the market on. He comes across as highly volatile and abusive of those in his employ, and is trying to replace many of the workers at the coca fields involved in packaging with a large machine. Automation really is hitting all sorts of industries. Franco is also highly eccentric, which is best exemplified by the way he only refers to himself with plural pronouns, saying we and us instead of I. By default, you begin the mission at the bus stop at the entrance to Santa Fortuna, and straight ahead of you is the gate to Delgado's estate. Before we head that way, however, the village is filled with shops and homes, many of which you can enter and which don't serve any particular purpose. There's a doctor's office right by the entrance to the level, as well as a mechanic and a general store. Going left from where we began, you can find a hostel as well as a full-on hotel further down the main street. And it seems that despite the small size of Santa Fortuna, it's a hub of tourism, as you can find tourists scattered throughout the town. You can also find a small building under construction, with the finished sections filled with cartel soldiers. One of the rooms on the ground floor of this building is locked, and if you open it, you'll discover that the cartel are using it as an armory, as well as storing a massive pallet of cash there. There's a remote explosive in this hidden armory, which is really handy if you need one and didn't bring one into the mission. Just past this building on the main street, you can find Martinez's compound, the office building she can be found patrolling around periodically. Martinez's compound is 2 stories, with the bottom one being split between a hall, a conference room, and a bathroom, and the top floor being one large room used as Martinez's office. Although the main gate is heavily guarded, there's a back door that can pretty easily be snuck into, and a section of wall that can be easily vaulted if you need to get inside. At the center of the village next to the hotel is a large plaza with a stage set up, being prepared for the unveiling of a new statue of Delgado, which we'll talk about during mission stories later on. A few doors down from Martinez's compound, you can hear loud pulsing music playing, and even hear a townsperson complain about the noise. The stretch of village from where you start to Martinez's compound is also bordered by a small path running alongside the river just down the cliff. There are only a few NPCs down here, so this can be a very easy way of traversing this half of the town without being seen. As Santa Fortuna is largely a fishing village, once you make it down past Martinez's compound, you can find numerous fishing shanties and docks built alongside the river. There is also a bar down here, which ends up being a pretty major location. This is the far edge of the town proper. There's a small path running between the bar and Delgado's mansion gates, featuring a shrine that can be used to quickly bypass the majority of the village. Just beyond the bar, you can find a construction site where the cartel is breaking ground on a new industrial plant for cocaine production, part of Delgado's plan to scale up their entire operation. There's a hidden path to the back of Delgado's estate here if you shoot a rope holding a log in place on the river. Backing up to where we started, if we go right from our initial location instead, we'll cross a bridge heading into the undeveloped jungle outside of town. The jungle isn't actually as expansive as it initially feels. In terms of wireframe, it's essentially a few crisscrossing hallways leading to a couple major points of interest, but the dense foliage and sound design do a great job at tricking your brain into thinking it's a lot bigger than it really is. It's also filled with poisonous plants and frogs, more than you could possibly need, in both lethal and emetic varieties. My biggest pro tip for this entire level: never bring poison into Santa Fortuna. There's so much of it available, it's always a waste of a slot. A shaman's hut can be found in the jungle, with several tourists communing with the spirits outside. Beyond that, there's the partial remains of a downed plane. If you keep going, you'll hit a gate indicating you're crossing over into cartel territory, as the jungle connects to both the coca fields and the back of Delgado's estate. You can get into this restricted territory pretty easily by either scaling the cliffs next to the plane crash, or picking the lock on the gate. The coca fields are a really fun set piece for this level, as they are a great demonstration of the foliage system that was new to Hitman 2. The coca fields are a huge, wide-open area, but since they're filled with coca plants, it's extremely easy to sneak around them and remain hidden. There's even a challenge to take out guards while hidden in the coca fields, which is a lot of fun to do. Some of the plants here are actually tall enough that you remain fully hidden within them even when you're standing up, which might be the only example of that in the game. Usually you have to crouch to stay hidden in foliage. If there's anything else this tall, I can't think of it off the top of my head. There are a couple of tented areas used by workers, as well as a handful of fully fledged buildings. First, there's a small lab set up where Franco and some assistants are working on perfecting the formula for his new super cocaine. This requires a key card to get in, but it's easy enough to shut off the breaker box outside and lure the lab assistants out to take theirs instead, as the area is obscured by the coca plants. The main building here is the production shed, where workers are processing the coca plants into cocaine and packing bricks of the stuff to be smuggled out. This is also where a large machine Franco is trying to get working can be found that can be used to process cocaine automatically. Or process people into blood cocaine bricks. Next to the production shed, you can find a large dock full of crates, forklifts, and the like, as well as a helicopter that can be used as a level exit should you so choose. Past here, you can find Franco's hut, which features a helicopter pilot hanging out inside of it. If you need to get inside, you can lure him out by turning off the air conditioning unit out back, and he'll drop the key to the hut. Inside, you can find one of the botany lab keycards if you need one. That just leaves Delgado's mansion, a massive estate connected to every other part of the map. Straight ahead from the bus stop where we began, we can see the massive gate to Delgado's estate. I love his giant hippo door knocker. Dude loves hippos, and I can't knock him for it. The main entrance is monitored by security cameras and requires a guard to open the door letting you in, which will require appropriate disguises. But just off to the right of the main door is some construction being done to repair a section of the wall and some vines leading up to it, which can be used to easily get inside. Actually, for as big as his wall is, Delgado's estate has all of the security of Swiss cheese. Because it's so big, there are 4 different entrances to it, without even talking about the secret tunnels beneath the mansion, which we'll look at in a moment. There's the main gate, the secret path from behind the construction yard, and 2 separate places where it's connected to the coca fields. And only the main gate and one of the coca field entrances have guards posted at them. The estate grounds themselves are somewhat difficult to sneak around. They're sprawling and fairly exposed, with guards patrolling them regularly. From the main entrance, you can find Delgado's personal garage off to the left, where he keeps his various sports cars, and a security post to the right. Moving counterclockwise around the mansion from the main entrance, we hit the spa with a lounge area and a jacuzzi, as well as a huge walk-in outdoor shower. Past this, we have the theater, a giant flat-screen TV the size of a wall, with a large outdoor lounge area and a bar. Several mansion guards and bikini-clad women can be found partying and sunbathing here, as well as doing just mountains of cocaine. Past this is Delgado's personal dock with 2 speedboats. Apparently, Delgado named one of his boats the Martinez, after his lifelong friend and right-hand woman, which would almost be sweet if he weren't a murderous drug lord. Next, we have a large outdoor kitchen, and finally a dock leading to Rico's pet hippo's enclosure. Crossing the bridge, we can find the pet hippo being overseen by a hippo whisperer and several guards. The hippo enclosure is built out of some ancient ruins, and you can find a small and mostly unused altar room down here as well, which can end up making for a good place to hide some bodies if you need to. These ruins are where the estate connects back to that secret path behind the construction yard. This brings us back to Delgado's mansion proper. The mansion itself has 3 floors: the ground floor, the second story, and a basement below. The ground floor is divided into 3 main rooms: the entryway with 2 large staircases leading up, a large entertainment room off to the left, and maybe the funniest thing in the entire level, Rico Delgado's personal museum off to the right. The entertainment room is what you'd expect. It's got a pool table, a bar, a dining area, and a lounge. You want to hear about the personal museum though, don't you? An entire third of the ground floor of Delgado's estate is his dedication to himself, filled with memorable and eye-catching items like a car riddled with bullet holes, a bloodied baseball bat he used to beat people to death, and even the iconic cello played by his uncle when 47 killed him back in Blood Money. He's even had guided tour voiceovers installed explaining several of the items, and I know you're dying to hear them.
This baseball bat was for a long time my signature weapon. As a young man, I worked as an enforcer for the traitorous Moreno cartel, and the bat was used as a persuasion tool while collecting debts. Later, when I decided to leave the Morenos, it was used one last time on my old boss. After that, the aptly named Head Splitter was retired. This guy, nicknamed El Guapo, is the first thing I bought after I made my first $1 million as an enterprising young man in Bogota. A few days later, the American DEA cowardly attempted to assassinate me, but the car's solid construction saved me from the enemy bullets. The DEA agents were not so lucky. I adopted Mijo the hippo after his mother was shot by local poachers, and he has been residing in his own enclosure here at my estate ever since. Playful and kind, the hippo is loved by everyone in the Delgado mansion and surrounding compound. My love of animals is well known, from the skins of rare jaguars to the tasty meats of endangered turtles. I love them all. But Mijo, my pet hippo, means the most to me.
I love this so much. Talk about powerful characterization. This is some of the most delightfully well-depicted narcissism I've ever seen. Chef kiss. A++. Oh, there's also a fish tank, and another lounge area in this room. How many lounges does one man need? The second floor of Delgado's mansion is split into 4 main rooms. On one side, above the museum, there's Rico's office and adjacent bathroom, and Rico's bedroom with a walk-in closet and bathroom. Delgado's bedroom is in the process of being deep cleaned by staff, as there are bullet holes and a massive blood stain on one of the walls, clearly from some sort of execution. On the other side, above the entertainment room, there's a room going under renovations, and the bedroom of Rico's brother, Hector Delgado. There's also a large outdoor walkway connecting from Rico's bedroom over to Hector's. Surprisingly, the basement might actually be the most interesting floor of the mansion. You can find a kitchen, wine cellar, and laundry room intended for staff, but there's also a large room for cartel soldiers to hang out in their off time, as well as a money-counting room, a torture room, and perhaps most interestingly of all, the so-called Vanisher's Room, where an expert document forger is set up making fake passports and the like for the cartel and Lucas Gray's militia. Finally, running below Delgado's estate, even below the basement, and connecting to every other major area of the map, is a series of cave tunnels. These tunnels serve a similar gameplay function to the utility corridors found in levels like Paris, Bangkok, or Hokkaido. They are a quick way of crossing from any point on the map to almost any other point, as they connect everywhere. The biggest room of the caves is a large underground alcove featuring an experimental submarine which the cartel are using to smuggle drugs, and Lucas Gray's people, all over the world. Next to this is a small locker room / security post hybrid, the crew quarters, and finally a room filled with smugglers packing the drugs into small toys and other objects to be sent out around the world. The caves feature in 2 mission stories, but they aren't that expansive themselves, rather serving as a shortcut around the map if you have an appropriate disguise. The caves connect virtually everywhere. The altar cavern behind the hippo enclosure, the basement of Delgado's mansion, the coca fields, the town right by the bus stop where you entered, another connection on the secret path between the hippo enclosure and the construction yard, and even a secret door beneath the bar in town. I love the flavor of this cartel having a secret series of underground tunnels that let them move men anywhere nearby at a moment's notice. It makes a lot of sense, and it goes a long way to making this map feel really deeply interconnected. And that, largely speaking, is Santa Fortuna. It's a huge map, but it's also so smartly interconnected with shortcuts and secret routes leading from almost anywhere to almost anywhere else. It feels like no matter where you are and no matter where you want to go, you always have 2 or 3 different choices of how to get there, which makes this map a lot of fun to cause chaos in and then simply disappear to the other side of the map for a while. Blew up Andrea Martinez in her office? You can be at the coca fields in an instant. Someone found a body in Delgado's mansion? You can hide out at the construction yard easily and quickly. This map is very smartly laid out, and the more time you spend there, the more you realize that it's one of the easiest maps to traverse in the entire series. But, of course, a Hitman mission is only as good as the kill opportunities which it holds. So now, let's talk about the mission stories and other fun kills in Santa Fortuna. On the top floor of the hotel in town, you can find a backpacker that's been hired by the cartel to smuggle cocaine in the form of a souvenir bus. Unfortunately for him, he accidentally broke the souvenir and is afraid of what Jorge Franco will do to him when presented with it. His friend suggests using some glue to fix the souvenir, but since Jorge Franco always does a taste test with the supplied cocaine, the hippie is terrified of being found out. You can run down to the general store looking for some glue, but you'll find that they're sold out. A mechanic next door bought the last tube of glue before you arrived, so if you take him out, you can get the glue for yourself. There's also a tube of glue down in the caves where the souvenirs are being assembled, right by where this mission story ends up taking you. Once you have the glue, you can sneak into the backpacker's hotel room to repair the souvenir and poison it if you're so inclined. By knocking the hippie out and then stealing his clothes, 47 can meet with Franco in the hippie's place and then take Franco out easily. As you explore the town, you can overhear two tourists who are talking about seeing a famous reality TV star, the tattoo artist P-Power, in a bar nearby.
I still can't believe it. Oh, meeting P-Power in a local bar in a tiny village like this. I mean, he's only the biggest celebrity tattoo artist in the world.
Maybe he's here to see that Delgado guy we've been hearing about? Sounds like he's got money to spare.
Ooh, could be. Lucky guy. I wish I could afford one of his pieces.
His work isn't that impressive. All he really seems to be doing is touch-ups and cover-ups of botched work on that reality TV show of his. Improving on stuff that looks like crap probably isn't too hard, you know?
I think you're wrong. His line work is to die for.
I still say he's a poser. Look at his sleeves. For crying out loud, those are obviously fake. Tell you what, let's go back to the bar and spy on him some more. I'll prove it to you. We're never gonna find that hostel on our own anyway.
Fine by me.
It turns out Delgado's wife, Catalina, is a huge fan of P-Power's show and has called him in to redo a tattoo on Delgado's neck, which he insists was just based on a photograph of her pre-plastic surgery, but which she believes was actually of one of Delgado's mistresses. Upon learning who he's been called to town to work on, P-Power is absolutely terrified, knowing that if he makes any sort of mistake, it will mean his certain death. You can find him in the town's bar, making phone calls and trying to get out of Dodge. The bartender's outfit can be easily obtained by using the building's breaker box, and once you've got that, you can poison P-Power's drink with some emetic poison to get him to the bathroom, where he can be easily knocked out and hidden to get his outfit. Once you've disguised yourself as P-Power, you can walk straight up to the main door of the Delgado mansion and get inside, eventually being led directly to the man himself to fix the tattoo. At first, both Catalina and a guard will be present, but if you wait long enough, Delgado will eventually dismiss both of them, leaving the two of you alone, at which point you can kill him with the tattoo gun.
Rico Delgado has been eliminated.
There's no good hiding place for Delgado's body here, unfortunately, but you do have plenty of time to get out of the mansion before the guard returns to find Delgado's body. Alternatively, if you want to do this silently, if you wait long enough, Agent 47, who is of course a master tattoo artist, can actually fix the tattoo. Delgado will go into the bathroom to see how it looks, leaving you alone in the room long enough to poison his drink. When he returns, he'll take a drink and die, which will be considered an accident kill when his body is found. Jorge Franco is working on a new machine that will quickly create bricks of cocaine without the need for human workers. Unfortunately for him, a circuit board, the final piece required to get the machine up and running, was airdropped into the jungle instead of directly into the coca fields, and now no one can find it. Franco has his men searching for it, but they haven't been able to find a small red box in the massive jungle. If you look up at the tree line by a crashed plane wing, you can see the box, which can easily be shot down or knocked down by throwing something at it. Once you've got the circuit board, you can sneak into the shack housing the machine and easily repair it. Once it's up and running again, Franco will demand some alone time to look at the machine. The old man is no match for a quick shove, making this a really easy way of taking Franco out.
Dios mío. It's perfect. No longer will we have to deal with those people out there. Just this marvelous mechanical contraption and its otherworldly ability to craft perfect bricks of the purest, cleanest cocaine the world has ever seen.
Franco confirmed down. Nice work.
Ground has just been broken on a new manufacturing plant that will let the cartel scale their production up to a level unparalleled by any other group in the world, truly industrialized. It's kind of like the secret lab from Breaking Bad, but since Delgado essentially owns the town of Santa Fortuna, he doesn't have to worry about the secret part. We can see a scale model of this plant in Martinez's office, and it's the early stages of this construction which Martinez is in town to oversee. Unfortunately for Martinez, but fortunately for us, construction has hit a roadblock, as the workers at the site have unearthed human remains, and are now terrified of upsetting the spirits of the dead and refuse to work until the town's shaman purifies the site. Martinez has sent some soldiers to retrieve the shaman, but they're reluctant to enter the jungle outside of town where he resides. When we get to the shaman's hut, we find him surrounded by several backpackers who are trying to get the religious experience he provides by taking the hallucinogens he provides. Luckily, the people who are meditating, read tripping balls, next to the shaman have gone temporarily blind due to the hallucinogens they've taken. This means you can do whatever you want in front of them without them noticing, even though they get the dot above their heads indicating they'll be suspicious. This means there's only one tourist there that's actually going to be able to see anything we do, which is easy enough to handle. Once you take the shaman out and steal his clothes, you can return to the guards who were sent to retrieve him, and then be escorted back to Martinez's office and walk right up to her. She'll ask you to perform a purification ritual at the site, and will even accompany us there. Luckily for us, there's a lot of things that can go wrong at a construction site. Accidents happen all the time, and once the ritual is done, she'll take a tour of the construction site given by the foreman. There are plenty of ways to take her out here, but the two I'll highlight are the cement mixer and some hanging crates that can be dropped. The cement mixer is definitely the intended end of this story mission, as the foreman even highlights it for you by saying it'll cover up any human remains in seconds after the ritual, and sure enough, Martinez walks directly in front of it after a short speech. You have to distract one of the workers set up in front of it because turning the mixer on is a suspicious action, but that's easily done with a coin, making this a perfect way of taking Martinez out in an accident. A more difficult way of doing this is by either shooting down or releasing some crates, which Martinez will briefly pause under after the ritual. The release button for the crates is blocked by a guard, but if you've got a silenced weapon, it's easy enough to shoot the crates down without being spotted. Rico Delgado rarely leaves his lavish mansion, so opportunities to find him in the town proper will be scarce. Thankfully, Agent 47 arrives in Santa Fortuna on the day of the unveiling of a new golden statue Delgado has commissioned of himself to look down upon the town. As you listen to guards and townsfolk discussing the statue, you can discover that it is built on a dangerously unstable foundation. By taking out the guards in front of the path to the statue and using a wrench, you can loosen the statue so that it will fall on Delgado and crush him when he pulls the tarp off of the statue. Unfortunately, the ceremony can't take place until a band of 4 local musicians are on stage ready to play. The musicians spent the previous night partying a bit too hard and are all missing, so you'll need to find them if you want the ceremony to commence. 3 of them can be found hung over throughout the town. The first can be woken up by speaking to him, the second by turning on a faucet to splash some water on him, and the third by turning on the generator he's leaning against. The final member of the band, the drummer, can be found inside his home, which can be accessed by turning off the breaker box outside to lure out his roommate, then knocking the roommate out for his key. When you get inside, you discover that the drummer actually partied so hard that he died in his sleep, which means Agent 47 will need to steal his clothes and perform in his place. Good thing his bandmates are too hungover to notice that their friend has been replaced by a 6-foot-something bald white man.
Holy shit! You shaved your head? Amigo, you do the craziest things!
It was time for a change.
Upon joining the band on stage, the ceremony will begin. First, Martinez will come out to introduce Delgado, while the armed guards in the village force a crowd to form to see the unveiling. When Delgado comes on stage, he'll ask for a drum roll, and once you provide one, he'll pull the statue free and be crushed to death. Alternatively, and much trickier, if you do everything the same way but do not pry the statue loose and then leave the stage after Delgado has started coming down from the mansion, but before he asks for a drum roll, then he'll get angry when he sees you absent from the stage. When this happens, Martinez will briefly cross the stage, giving an opportunity to kill both of them at once by pushing the statue manually, shooting the statue down, or using a remote explosive to blast it free. Killing both targets with the statue at once will award the Exit Stage Left challenge. In the caves below the level, Delgado has a team of engineers working on a prototype submarine, which they've refitted to transport 10 tons of cargo and 6 people at a time, anywhere in the world. Unfortunately, Delgado has ordered them to give the sub so much power that it's become dangerous to work on, as the vibrations from the engine are powerful enough to break the winch being used to hold it in place. As you explore the level, you can hear that the head engineer on the project was almost killed when this happened, and the sub landed on his arm, breaking it. Now, Delgado's soldiers are pressuring the man to get back to work, despite his arm bones being turned into a fine powder. If you sneak behind the man's house, you can find his outfit in the laundry outside. Wear this outfit and talk to the barkeep where you found P-Power for the tattoo artist mission, and you are given the key to the cave system to get back to work. Once you reach the submarine, you are told they've placed a limiter on the engine to keep another terrible accident from happening, so we're just going to use a screwdriver to turn that right off. You can call Delgado down to get a demonstration of the submarine's engines. My favorite lines from 47 in the level come from this part, as we get some of Agent 47's trademark dry wit.
10 tons of pure white and 6 soldiers. That is truly something else.
It's like a submersible party bus, sir.
What's the range increase? Will we be able to go anywhere now?
As long as you're traveling by water, yes.
It is of the utmost importance that this sub goes as fast as possible.
I can definitely say this is the fastest submarine I have ever worked on.
Delgado will keep asking you to turn the engines higher and higher, until eventually he steps directly behind the sub and tells you to give it full power. Doing so will shake the sub loose, killing Delgado.
Rico Delgado has been eliminated.
As you're exploring the level, you can discover that Andrea Martinez and Rico Delgado's brother Hector Delgado used to be an item. Unfortunately, Hector makes his brother look stable, and the affair between the two ended when Hector blew up Martinez's car. Hector is desperately in love with Martinez, however, and has now gone through therapy and rehab, returning to Santa Fortuna claiming to be a changed man so that he can win Martinez back. Martinez wants nothing to do with Hector and has ordered that all of the many gifts and love letters he sent her be thrown away or burned. You can see the trash can outside of Martinez's mansion is filled with presents and flowers sent to her by Hector, trying to win her back. The dumpster behind the house is likewise surrounded by presents. In Delgado's mansion, Hector can be found frantically searching for a love letter he wrote for Martinez, which he's convinced will be the letter to win her back if he can only make her read it. Pretty much everyone in the level has had it with Hector's obsession and is trying to make him move on, and one of the mansion guards even snuck into his room and stole the letter the previous night to keep him from embarrassing himself. This guard then had to jump out of Hector's bedroom window as Hector returned. The guard with the letter can be found patrolling around the basement level of the mansion and can be identified by his limp, the result of jumping out the window to avoid Hector. If you take him out, you can pick up the letter for yourself. There are a few different options of what to do with the letter. You can try giving it to the guard at the gate of Martinez's compound, but knowing that it's absolutely radioactive and not wanting to incur the wrath of either Hector or Martinez, he'll tell you to deliver it yourself if you care so much. You can also try giving it to Martinez's personal assistant, but she'll tell you to get out as soon as you do, since Martinez has made it very clear that she doesn't want to hear anything Hector has to say. On the second floor of Martinez's building, there's an incoming mail tray, and if you place the letter on it without being seen, then when Martinez eventually patrols back to this spot, she'll angrily notice the letter. When finally confronted with the letter, she won't be able to resist seeing what it says, and will walk out to the balcony to read it. Her balcony just so happens to be directly over a piranha-filled river.
No, I can't do this. This has to end. Better to let this letter and your words end up as food for the piranhas than let my heart end up there. We're through, and I will have none of this.
Alright, this next part is pretty bleak. Another option is to give Hector the letter. If you do this, he'll thank you, and then deliver the letter himself, demanding to see Martinez.
Andrea, you look beautiful.
Oh, what do you want, Hector?
I came back from the clinic. I sent gifts, letters. You didn't reply to any of them. We spent time together, Andrea. It meant something.
It was just a fling, Hector.
You kept saying that, but it's not true. You know that. We share something special. I know I was. Please, por favor. I made little mistakes, but I have changed. Andrea!
Sleeping with the Gomez twins was a little mistake, Hector? You are a disaster, and I will not let you back into my personal life. You need to leave.
I will not let you treat me like this, Andrea. I demand respect. I will not let you go.
Don't confuse me with your other women, Hector. I am not your possession. I make my own decisions in life.
Please read the letter, Andrea. At least give me that much respect.
Fine. Give me the letter and get the hell out of here, Hector.
Following this, Martinez will go read the letter on the balcony as if you'd delivered the message. Hector will patrol down to the cliffs below Martinez's balcony, also staring out over the river. If you time it right, you can make sure Hector sees Andrea's falling body just before she's eaten by piranhas. Assuming that he's just caused the love of his life to throw herself off a cliff, this will push Hector into a relapse. Back at the mansion, he'll seek out lines of coke. If you eliminate Hector by poisoning these lines of coke, you'll be awarded the Off the Wagon challenge. I feel like this whole challenge is a good new candidate for meanest thing you can do to someone in a Hitman game. Another option, which is related to this mission story, is to place an explosive package in Martinez's inbox instead. The explosive package can be found in a safe in the security room in the basement of the mansion. The code to the safe can be found on a post-it note right next to it. If you place the explosive package in the inbox instead of the letter, then when Martinez next reaches her office, she'll open the package and it will explode, killing her. One of the kills you can get on Franco, associated with the Salt the Earth and Mind the Step challenges, is one of those ones that feels almost like it could have been a mission story. Franco is experimenting on a rare hallucinogenic plant found in the surrounding jungle, which can be found in a small lab in the middle of the coca fields. If you take out the assistants working in the lab, you can sabotage the plant, destroying the sample, which gets the Salt the Earth challenge completed. Once Franco patrols back to the lab, he'll discover that the sample has been destroyed and will go out into the jungle cliffs to retrieve another flower. On the way there, his guards can easily be taken out silently as you walk through the coca fields by luring them away with coins. If you follow Franco long enough, he'll eventually discover the flower he's looking for growing from a tree overhanging a cliff. As he reaches for it, you can push him to his death, and Agent 47 will quip,
Dr. Livingston, excuse me.
which is a reference to the famous quote, Dr. Livingston, I presume? This awards the Mind the Step challenge. Another kill, which easily could have been a mission story, has to do with Delgado's pet hippo, El Mijo. El Mijo has been acting up lately, and Delgado has hired a quote-unquote hippo whisperer to solve the problem. You can actually find out what the problem is if you listen to two of the mansion guards in front of Delgado's home.
You notice how Rico's been acting unusually brutal these past couple of days? Feels like he's upset about something. Well, sure. Mijo, his pet hippo, hasn't been himself lately, and the boss is really upset about it. A specialist thinks it might be food poisoning.
Really? That's interesting.
What? What do you know?
Well, remember that treacherous mule we plucked last week? You asked me to dispose of the body, no? But we had run out of the jet fuel we normally use, and I didn't want to haul the body all the way over to the construction site. I sort of fed the body to the hippo.
You didn't. His body had half a kilo of cocaine hidden inside it.
I didn't know that. How was I supposed to know that?
You're dead. You are so dead.
Dan Buckman, the hippo whisperer, has no idea what he's doing, and he knows if he doesn't find a solution soon, Delgado is going to feed him to the hippo instead. He's been feeding the hippo watermelon and trying other fruits and vegetables, but because Delgado and his men got in the habit of feeding El Mijo bodies they wanted to disappear, El Mijo has developed a taste for blood, exacerbated by all the cocaine. There are several meaty bones found throughout the level, including one right next to the enclosure, and if you throw it into the pen, El Mijo will emerge from its tunnel to happily eat it. Of course, guards are also made of meat, so you could just feed one of them to El Mijo instead. Once the hippo whisperer sees El Mijo has come out of its tunnel, he'll excitedly go get Delgado. Upon seeing the hippo out of the enclosure, he'll want some alone time with it. You can easily sneak up behind him and push him into the enclosure, where the vicious hippo will happily devour its master.
Rico Delgado has been eliminated.
Delgado looks at the fish tank on the ground floor of his mansion every time he patrols past it. There's a wire that can be easily exposed directly beneath it, making this a really easy way of electrocuting him. There's a giant chandelier hanging over Delgado's entryway, and the challenge Deadlier Art requires you to kill him by dropping it on his head. Personally, I found the easiest way of doing this quietly is just systematically getting rid of the guards on the ground floor, waiting for Delgado to patrol nearby, then knocking him out and dragging him below it. The mastery rewards for Santa Fortuna are slightly different depending on whether you're playing the mission in Hitman 2 or Hitman 3. Hitman 3 specifically has a few extra items as mastery rewards. Aside from the usual agency pickups and alternate starts, you get sedative pills at level 2 in both games, a frag grenade at level 5, a medic pills at level 7, an assault rifle at level 10, a submachine gun at level 13, an RFID triggered explosive device at level 15, a proximity demolition explosive at level 18, and a remote micro audio distraction device at level 20. In Hitman 3, they added the meaty bone at level 4, a miniature violin which can be used as a melee weapon at level 8, a sacrificial knife at level 16, a remote taser at level 17, and shaman powder which explodes when thrown at level 20. This is not, to me, the most exciting set of mastery rewards, so let's move on to Easter eggs and other details in the mission. If you eavesdrop on P-Power in the bar while he makes phone calls, you can overhear that he's calling his manager begging her to get him out of Santa Fortuna. It turns out his manager is Dexy Barrett, who you'll recall was Jordan Cross's manager back in the Bangkok map.
Yeah, Dexy? It's me. Look, I'm in real trouble here. Call me back, alright?
You can find a Freedom Fighters arcade machine in the bar in town, which is a reference to one of IOI's previous games, Freedom Fighters. You can find another one in the mansion basement. If you eavesdrop on the Vanisher in the basement of Delgado's mansion, you can learn that he was the one who forged documentation getting Rose, Parvati, and the other targets of the Colorado mission into the USA.
Rose, Parvati, all those people Rico's friend wanted to get to Colorado? I spent 3 weeks creating documents, hacking databases, performing low-level hypnosis on them. Rose almost blew it at the airport, of course. That man was more neurotic than Sigmund Freud.
Hypnosis? Really?
Of course. Creating the identity on paper and in databases is only half the job. The recipient needs to live the new identity long enough to fool the authorities. Hypnosis helps them get into character. Huh. Franco's been suggesting that he can achieve the same with low doses of LSD, but trials on volunteers hasn't exactly been successful.
So that was what all the screaming was about.
Yeah. Becoming someone else isn't for everyone.
When talking to P-Power, Agent 47 mentions that he has had business with the Delgado family in the past. This is, of course, a reference to blood money. The hippie smuggling the souvenir in one of the story missions is implied to be the same one from the Sapienza map in Hitman 1, who lived above the ice cream shop. If you don't give Delgado the drum roll during the Heart of Stone story mission, the keyboard player will eventually imitate one instead. One of my favorite jokes in the entire series features in this mission, and it revolves around P-Powers, the celebrity tattoo artist. If you knock him out and steal his outfit, you'll actually discover that, as foreshadowed by some dialogue from the tourists who spotted him at the bar, his tattoos are actually all fake. They're just sleeves. Not sleeve tattoos, just sleeves. This was bugged for a very long time in the Hitman 3 version of the map, long enough that some of my footage with the outfit in this very video shows me in the outfit without any of the tattoos, because I've been working on this video for way too long. But it is actually working properly again now. You'll love to see it. If you look at the table in Hector's room, you can see he's spelled out Andrea, with dollar bills. One of the statues in Delgado's garden will be seen again as a major identifiable set piece of the Whittleton Creek map 2 levels from now. Two maids in the basement of Delgado's mansion can be heard discussing the events of the mission, featuring the Delgado family in Blood Money.
He told me about the cello and some of the other things. I had no idea the Delgado family immigrated from Chile.
Well, Rico's uncle Fernando was from Chile. Apparently, he was killed alongside his son, Rico's cousin, in some freak accident. Rico is very sensitive about it.
Sounds horrible.
In the basement torture room of the mansion, you can hear a recording of one of Delgado's men trying to get information out of Ether's chief biochemist. As a reminder, Ether is the company Silvio Caruso was developing the virus for back in Sapienza.
Oscar Wong, Ether's chief biochemist. Sorry to ruin your holiday.
You're making a big mistake. I'm an American citizen. Who the hell are you people?
Oh, trust me. You don't want to know. You already soiled yourself once. The Neuroscience Division in Johannesburg, Oscar. You'll know it like the back of your hand. Start drawing.
What? You don't get it. I signed an NDA the size of a phone book. These people will sue my ass off. No, I just can't do it.
Oh, no, hey, I understand. But you live in a world of soft edges, of life coaches and personal shoppers. Organic grocery stores and soy milk macchiatos. You see, the thing is, Oscar, you're not in Brooklyn anymore.
When you give the love letter back to Hector, he'll thank you by giving you the code to his brother's safe. This is absolutely a nitpick, but I sort of hate this. It's a fun reward from a gameplay perspective, but there's no reason why Hector would reward a random guard with the code to his brother's safe just for returning the letter to him. In a game that feels so logically thought out in so many ways, it just feels very quest rewardy in a way that clashes with the rest of the game. I wish they'd found another place to hide the safe code and had figured out some other reward for this. In any case, inside of Delgado's safe, you can find the El Matador gold-plated pistol, as well as some non-interactable rings and a human skull. We can see another GNN news report talking about several events related to both past and upcoming missions. I think the most interesting one here is the one about the deaths of Robert and Sierra Knox being ruled accidental, but noting that conspiracy theories have started to form about them being connected to several other deaths of high-powered executives.
The Miami Police Department issued a statement today calling the deaths of Kronstadt Industries' Robert and Sierra Knox during last week's Global Innovation Race an unfortunate accident. The peculiar circumstances and small statistical likelihood of a father and daughter dying tragically within moments of each other have made conspiracy theorists cry foul. Some point to a connection between the Knoxes and the assassinations of several other corporate leaders, such as Dynasty Global CEO Rupert Pierce in London. But so far, no organization has taken responsibility, nor do the MOs seem to match. Whether the awful events in Miami spell the end of the global innovation race, only time will tell. But this year's winner, Moses Lee of Kowloon, has already proposed moving the race to Shanghai.
It seems outsiders to the war between Providence and Lucas Gray's militia are finally starting to draw connections between the events of various maps. If you knock out the Hippo Whisperer, you can walk up to Delgado and inform him of the Hippo's status.
The animal has emerged from the enclosure. He looks healthy and is acting like any other hippo I've ever been around.
He'll tell you a short story about El Mijo while you walk with him to the enclosure.
Once, when Mijo was just a youngster, I executed a man for stealing a watch from me. It was my Uncle Fernando's old watch and it was priceless to me, So, anyway, by sheer accident, his body, it fell into the river. And then, as if he read my mind, Mijo dove under the surface of the water, and when he came back up, there, in his mouth, was the watch. Arm still attached to it and everything. Oh, man. Oh, that hippo is something special.
If you tell him that the hippo has emerged when it actually hasn't, he'll be furious with you, saying you have one more chance. Do this again, and he'll turn hostile to you, running to get guards to have you killed. If you tail Delgado, you'll find that he tells one of the guards in his museum anecdotes about the items there each time he passes through. Most notably, he will talk about his uncle's cello and how he knows his death was no accident.
Uncle Fernando's cello. Do you know the story, hombre?
I've heard versions of it. A vineyard in Chile, see?
See. My uncle and his son established the roots of my empire. A Chilean cartel based in his vineyard. Until one day, when someone came along and killed them. Oh, the authorities called it a freak accident. Liars. All of them. I will have my revenge. One day I will meet the man who killed my uncle, and blood will be spilled one final time. Trust me.
If you tail Rico Delgado long enough, he'll take a call on speakerphone in his office with the shadow client himself, Lucas Gray. This line explains why the Delgado cartel got in bed with the militia in the first place. Lucas Gray promising the names of those involved with the deaths of Fernando Delgado and Manuel Delgado back in Blood Money.
Hey, it's Rico. You wanted an update on the sub. Well, it's practically ready to run. So my end of the deal is more or less in order.
Oi, those tough guys are here.
More or less will not help our cause, Rico. Your patience will be rewarded, but I need you to deliver on your end of the deal first. Finish the sub, and I will give you the names you desire.
Well, I don't think you fully understand here. This is a matter of honor. When you brought me evidence of foul play in the case of my uncle's death, you started something I need to finish. The sub will be ready. I just need my lead engineer to iron out a few kinks.
I understand. You will have your revenge in due time. And once I've finished with my task, the Moreno cartel will be of no trouble to you anymore. 2 flies with 1 swat, Rico. Finish the sub.
The guard who escorts you from the gate to Delgado's mansion when you're disguised as P-Power has several short stories about tattoos he can tell you during the walk.
So famous tattoo artist, huh? I put some ink on skin as well in my time. Of course, most of that was in prison and not always on people who appreciated the work. You know how hard it is to tattoo traitor on a guy's forehead while he's squirming around on the ground like a worm? Not easy, let me tell you. My sister got a tattoo once. It was supposed to be a tribute to her son, but the guy fucked it up. Baby Gustavo ended up looking like a damn chupacabra. When my brother-in-law saw the tattoo, he went down to the guy's house, shot him dead. Which was kinda dumb because he was the only tattoo artist around for 100 miles.
Can't say that ever happened to me.
You bet.
When killed, Delgado will drop the keys to one of his sports cars. If you pick the keys up and take them to his garage when you've taken out all of the targets, you can use the car as an exit. If you eavesdrop on the Hippo Whisperer, you can find out that he seems to actually be trained as a horse whisperer, and thought he could handle a hippo since they're river horses.
Come on! I am normally a very patient man, but you are stretching it. I've cured prize race horses of their performance anxiety, helped bulimic ponies regain their desire to eat. We've been at this for days now. Enough is enough. Get out here, meat or no meat. I need you out here now.
Behind Delgado's mansion, there's a jacuzzi which can be turned on to use as a distraction. Catalina Delgado will periodically patrol by it, and if you get her to investigate it and then drown her in it, you'll be awarded with the Blowing Bubbles challenge. There's a character in town called the Meat Enthusiast, whose home is surrounded by cuts of meat. If you knock him out with the meaty bone item and then feed him to the piranhas, you'll earn the We Meet Again challenge. You can find a remote explosive on one of the pillars in the altar room of the ruins next to El Mijo's enclosure. The internet is telling me this is a GoldenEye reference, but I don't remember GoldenEye well enough to say for sure. If you look in the bathroom of the basement of Delgado's mansion, in the room where all of the guards are hanging out, you can see there's cash littered around the toilet. I think the implication here is that they are literally wiping their asses with money. One of the more devilishly well-hidden Easter eggs in this level is the redacted challenge Secret Tunnel. Inside of the house next to the drummer, if you look through the window, you can see a golden idol sitting on the table. If you pick the lock on the door or use a crowbar, the idol will despawn, so you have to find the owner of the house and get his key, which is for some reason called Shop Key. Once you get inside and grab the idol, you should go get the shaman disguise. Knocking the shaman out with the idol will award a bonus challenge towards unlocking the codename 47 suit in Hitman 3, so you might as well do that in the process. Once disguised as the shaman, you need to make your way to the ruins next to El Mijo's pen. There's a small alcove on the wall, and if you place the idol here while dressed as the shaman, a secret passageway will open up. Once you're inside the secret tunnel, there are a series of booby-trapped plates on the ground. You need to walk across the only valid path, which as far as I can tell, there is no way to determine aside from trial and error or looking it up on the internet. If you step on a wrong plate, darts will shoot out from the sides and you'll die. Once you reach the end of the tunnel, you can pick up a ritual dagger, you'll be awarded the challenge, and there are 3 secret doors hidden in this map, with a challenge called Keymaster available for opening all of them in a single run. The most obvious of these is the secret door in the basement of the bar, which you'll be directed to by the submerged mission story. The second is the one opened by the golden idol for the secret tunnel Easter egg. The final hidden door is in Delgado's personal garage and is opened via a hidden button underneath a desk in the adjacent room. I'm going to give you all a pro tip because the challenge Fly Tipping seems incredibly buggy. This challenge requires you to feed one of each type of guard in the level, street soldiers, coca field guards, mansion guards, and elite guards, to the piranhas living in the river. You can do this by dumping them in any spot in the river, it doesn't matter where. It seems like, for me, saving during this run was what was stopping it from completing. Not loading a save, mind you, saving my game seemed to disable the challenge for some reason. I also kept all of the guards alive before I threw them in the river, just in case dead bodies don't count. For this challenge, I started in the coca fields as a worker, then took out the 2 guards you can hear talking about searching for Franco's circuit board, since they're pretty secluded. For the mansion guards, I took out the 2 in front of the gate, separating the jungle from the mansion. For street soldiers, I took out the 2 who were sent by Martinez to go get the shaman. The elite guards were the hardest, since they mostly hang out in the tunnels, so I just used a coin to kite one of the 2 you talked to as the backpacker to get escorted to see Franco, and pulled him all the way across the bridge to where the street soldiers I used were. Doing all of this without saving my game finally got the challenge to unlock. One of the tourists you can find in town, patrolling around the bottom floor of the hotel, references that Santa Fortuna is the birthplace of John Leguizamo. That's right, in-universe, apparently Luigi Mario himself was born in the town of Santa Fortuna. I looked it up, and apparently Leguizamo was actually born in Bogota, the capital of Colombia. Fun facts!
It's weird, but I have to keep stopping to remind myself I'm here. The birthplace of John Leguizamo himself. Do you mind if I ask where... No, I want to find the plaque for myself.
There are repurposed carts from the Gamma Hospital in the Hokkaido mission in Delgado's basement laundry room. Is this a key hidden detail that secretly unravels the entire conspiracy of the game, or a small reuse of assets they didn't think anyone would notice? You decide. Andrea Martinez's written profile, which you can read from the menu before starting the mission, mentions that Andrea's entire family was slaughtered while she was visiting her uncle, Don Ferdinando Delgado. Assuming that's literal and not just a term of endearment, and for what it's worth, the briefing reads like it's her literal uncle, that makes her the cousin of Rico and, more troublingly, Hector Delgado, her ex-boyfriend and lover. One omission that bothers me in this mission is that, as far as I can tell, there's no way to get the hippie to meet up with Franco himself. If you fix the souvenir and leave it, he'll never notice, and he'll even ask you for glue when he sees you, but 47 will just say he doesn't have any, whether you do or not. This feels like the kind of thing which these games usually account for, so it feels a little weird to me. Speaking of the hippie, does it actually make any sense that the hippie is smuggling coke into Colombia? That doesn't seem like it makes sense to me, but everything I know about the drug trade I learned from watching Breaking Bad, so maybe I'm missing something. There are a couple of cut challenges in this mission, which were available in Hitman 2, but were removed for the Hitman 3 version of the map. The first of these removed challenges I want to talk about, called 3-Course Dinner, requires you to feed the bodies of all 3 targets to El Mijo. I imagine this one was removed just for being tedious, since it basically requires you to clear a path to drag all of the targets' bodies to the hippo pen. The more interesting of the two is the Hero of Santa Fortuna, which requires you to fix every problem in the mission and to not use the opportunities to take targets out, or at least not until you've fixed every other problem for that person. The checklist is specifically: demonstrate the submarine to Rico Delgado, complete the statue unveiling ceremony, fix Rico's tattoo, help El Mijo feel better, return the lost love letter to Hector Delgado, cleanse the construction site, repair the hippie's souvenir, and repair Jorge Franco's cocaine production machine. I like this challenge in theory. It kind of reminds me of trying to go through a run of Majora's Mask, doing as many of the side quests as possible in a single 3-day cycle before beating the final boss to try to give everyone a happy ending. This one was probably removed because it was infamously janky to actually get it to pop though. For example, when fixing Rico's tattoo, it wouldn't count unless you sat through the entire tattoo fixing animation, which lasts for a very long time, even though simply hitting leave would still make Rico go check the tattoo in the mirror like normal. On the other hand, if you wait through the submarine demo without sabotaging it and killing Rico, he'll realize you aren't the real engineer and kill you, so you'll have to do that one last. The whole thing is finicky. The reason you would go through all of this, though, is that it actually unlocks an extremely hidden secret exit. If you go through all of the steps to complete the Hero of Santa Fortuna, and then look all the way at the edge of town across from the bar, you can see a yellow umbrella in the tree line on the opposite shore. If you try to shoot the umbrella down without having followed all of the above steps, it simply won't fall. Shoot the umbrella down after completing the criteria for the Hero of Santa Fortuna, and you'll get a special exit where Agent 47 flies out of the level like Mary Poppins. By far, the most well-hidden Easter egg in the level, which is completely hidden, not even hinted at by a challenge, involves shooting rubber ducks hidden throughout the map. These ducks spawn in order as you shoot each one, so you have to find them in sequence. Also, when I reloaded, it caused it to break and despawn the ducks. I'm not sure if that's intentional or a bug, but either way I recommend doing this all in a single play session without save scumming. The first duck is found out of bounds behind the shaman's hut. You'll want a sniper rifle for this one. The second duck is hidden in Delgado's personal wardrobe on the second floor of his mansion. The third duck is found sitting on the winch holding the crates at the construction yard. The fourth duck is found in a shop near the Statue Plaza area. The fifth duck is found sitting on top of a light in the underground tunnels. The final duck is sitting out of bounds on a small island by the bridge connecting the town to the shaman's portion of the jungle. Once you shoot all of them, I think the map we've talked about so far, which Santa Fortuna reminds me of the most, is Marrakesh from the first game. Not because the themes of the map are at all similar, one is dense and urban while the other contains some of the most undeveloped terrain in the entire series. Way back when I talked about A Gilded Cage, I said I considered it to be one of the hidden gems of the series that doesn't get as much acknowledgement as maps like Sapienza or Paris, and that is what makes me think of it when talking about Santa Fortuna. There are a lot of fun mission stories and kills and details in this level. I like the tattoo artist kill, I like pushing Martinez to the piranhas, and I like feeding guards to El Mijo. Compared to some of the mission stories in the other levels of Hitman 2 though, even compared to Mumbai, which I do think is an overall weaker mission, as we'll talk about soon enough, the scripted kills here just aren't as flashy and memorable as getting Robert Knox's robot to shoot him to death, or getting Sierra's tire to fly off during the race, or blowing a man off a rooftop with a giant fan, like we'll see in the next mission. What Santa Fortuna does well, though, are the fundamentals. This is one of the most elegantly laid out maps in the entire series. It's always easy to get from any point of the level to any other point of the level, and the environment you're traversing is gorgeous, which makes playing this mission a blast even if you ignore mission stories entirely. This is a very fun map to mess around in, just poking at the clockwork and seeing what you can make happen, whether that's trying to feed the entire mansion to El Mijo, hiding dozens of bodies in the coca fields, or poisoning dozens of characters with fresh frog sweat. I think two of the targets in this level, Martinez and Delgado, are strong characters. There are a ton of great kill opportunities, and the characters themselves feel really well sketched. I personally think Franco falls a lot flatter. I love the mission where you push him into the cocaine processing machine. I think that's a really fun kill, but I think his other kills, like the backpacker one or pushing him off of the cliff, are rather forgettable. If I were to rank all of the maps of Hitman 2, I do think this would end up in my bottom half overall, but that says a lot about just how high the quality of the maps in Hitman 2 overall are, more than it says anything about Santa Fortuna in particular. Hitman 2 might actually have the highest average quality of levels out of any video game I've ever played. After you've finished the mission, you're treated to another cutscene, titled Untouchable. This cutscene stars Diana and gives us her backstory, with the event that created this woman who would go on to be half of the greatest team of assassins in the world. Diana walks through a graveyard while sending a message to Providence that the mission in Colombia was a success. Then, as she stops at the gravestone of James Burnwood, we flash back to 1989, and hear her parents discussing what killed her 19-year-old brother.
I'm not as strong as you. They have to pay for what they did.
It needs to stop. You need to stop.
If my source checks out, we can prove the board knew about the chemical leaks. We'll have grounds for a retrial.
It won't make a difference. They're too powerful.
They're not the devil, Nancy. Just a company. They're not above the law, don't you see? This is bigger than James. Those bastards killed 80 people.
And they got away with it. Think about what that means.
No one's untouchable.
No one's untouchable.
Diana,
This led the young girl to go from being a part of a loving family to being completely alone in the world. 10 years later, in 1999, we would see her as a part of the ICA's recruitment program, back in the tutorial missions for the first game. I like the pain on Diana's face during this scene when we cut back to the present day. I also really like this very dark twist for her character. It's such an interesting decision to have Diana, who became 47's handler, which makes her an assassin in her own right, be the sole survivor of a similar assassination in her childhood. Obviously, both of our protagonists, 47 and Diana, are morally questionable at best. While their actions in this series are heroic, they are, at the end of the day, hitmen. Killers for hire. The idea that Diana is very personally aware of the kind of pain these assassinations leave in their wake, and yet went on to become one herself, is pretty dark, and sets the stage for the character arc we'll see Diana have in Hitman 3. After this, the cutscene ends by jumping to Johannesburg, at the headquarters of the Ether Corporation. We see Lucas Gray has broken into the building, him and his men killing countless people and tying up one of the security guards. Gray takes a sample of some kind in a vial that looks very similar to Ether's virus from Sapienza and is clearly meant to evoke that mission. He plants a bomb on the security guard and starts the countdown, and the cutscene ends with the bomb going off. We won't find out what the sample Lucas Gray came here to steal was for a few missions, but it will end up being crucial to Gray's plan. If you're still watching, thank you so much, and I hope you're enjoying the Hitman 2 season of this show. I'd also like to take a moment to thank all of my supporters who have pledged $5 and up to help me keep making content for this channel. Pete Lee, Hakan Boyam, William, Theodore Devaney, Cabbage, Dan Luther, Noah Phoenix, Still Just Cow, Alex Smith, Gassan Abanura, Yo-Yo Jojo Mojo, Frondi, Tsai Voafehi, Patrizia Frabetti, Sninkelberg, Shiny Emptyhead, That's All, Bell Mage, Malachi Murphy, Rekka, Picayune, Jose Armalas, The Smallest Church in Wienerville, Panosny Koresnik, Pizza Requiem, Edward Clayton Andrew, Rules in Place, Mari SQZ, Raxarox, Mikaru X, Unhealthy Caillou, Sir Darkon, and Rachel Aurelia. With that, we're officially halfway done with the campaign of Hitman 2, at least before DLC. The next main mission is Chasing a Ghost, set in Mumbai, but before we cover that, I want to take a diversion to talk about a piece of side content released with Hitman 2, specifically the Sniper Assassin mode for the game, which features 3 unique maps. That's what we'll be talking about next time, but for now, take care.